good evening, everybody. Welcome on into another edition of the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Bryan Stevens. How you doing, Bryan?
Doing great, Chad. How are you?
I am hanging in there. We have, just over like 10 days now, I guess, or so, in the football season. But instead of ramming our head into a brick wall over and over again, we thought we'd change things up and talk a little hoops. Little Wyoming.
Yeah, because the basketball team's fun to watch.
Yes, they are, unlike the football team. And so, yeah, we don't need to talk about what's coming Saturday night because most of you probably get these public safety announcements, usually on the radio. They're the commercials, and they're something like this. They're like, in this corner, we have a 2-ton truck. In this corner, we have a speeding freight train. And then they're like, don't stop on tracks and all that good stuff because the freight train's going to take out your truck every time. That's what's heading to Laramie this Saturday night is a freight train, a blue freight train.
Yeah, and the conductor is a guy by the name of Ashton Genty. So it's not often you get to see a Heisman favorite in Laramie. So
true, yeah.
If you're okay watching the post just get stomped, then feel free to come on up to Laramie.
Are you going? Are you still going?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, yeah. The only other time I could remember something like this, boys and girls, would be, it must have been the 96 or the 97 season when Marshall Faulk came to Laramie with the Aztecs. I remember that game very well. Because in that time, was he a Heisman finalist that year? I'm not sure if he was, but
I don't remember.
You could look that up and see it. But I mean, you're right. You don't get to see somebody who's connected to the Heisman come to Laramie, once every 25 years if you're lucky. So, Again, the only one I can remember is Marshall Faulk. I don't know if anybody else out there in the chat, if you have other examples, let us know. But otherwise, we'll have a post-game show.
Faulk finished second in the Heisman Trophy voting, losing to Gino Torretta.
Okay, well, there we go. See,
1992.
92.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I thought it was like 96, so I was off in the year 92. Wow.
Yeah, it's only been 30 years.
Okay. Well, I was at the game. I remember going. So, for that reason, right, to go see Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, yeah. So, Sunday night, we will have it's not Sunday, Saturday night, we'll have a post-game show breaking down the more than likely carnage we'll be seeing in Laramie on the football side. But again, we are here to talk some basketball, and we'll let Bryan take it away here to catch you up on the two games that have taken place since we've had one of these roundups.
Yeah, so I think we all know how the Texas Tech game went, so we're not going to belabor that too much. Sure. The thing I do want to say about the Texas Tech game is that's a top 20 team. Like, they are incredibly underrated right now. They've got crazy amounts of talent. They're super fast. They're really disciplined. It's gonna be pretty tough for anybody to beat them this year. I am glad that JT Toppin is now in Lubbock instead of Albuquerque, because that means we only had to see him once this year instead of twice.
True.
So that's nice. Utah Tech, on the other hand, was
not
more
a tournament team.
What's that?
Not a tournament team.
Not a tournament team. They had 10 new players, 6 of them returning. They had 7 transfers coming in. But that was what we had hoped it would be. That was us taking it to a good team, not a good team, taking it to a D1 team.
Yeah.
And showing what we could do. We were briefly favored to lose that game in the first half, but not by much. So it was a stomping all the way through. Kobe Newton played lights out.
That he did.
Shooting 50%.
There's mom there. In case you
didn't miss. Yeah, did really well. We held them to 5 of 25 on 3, which is exactly what we want to see, especially after that Texas Tech game and the Concordia St. Paul game, where neither team seemed to be able to miss. It was nice to see that defense get tightened down a little bit. So the team's growing. One thing above anything else is they're a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Like, it's going to basketball games is a good time, and I hope everybody takes advantage when they can.
100%. Yeah, they play an entertaining style of basketball. A little uneven still, obviously. Sundance is having to doing a lot of coaching, which he is doing, like on an individual level, right? Like every time a player comes off, and he makes a lot of subs, right? Because I think he's pretty quick on the subs when guys make mistakes, just so he can coach them and teach them, and then they come back in the game and they play better for the most part.
Yeah, and he's doing a really good job of mixing up the starting lineups too. I think we're starting to settle in. We know it's going to be, Nesbitt, Agban, and Henry are going to start every game. It would surprise me if we saw. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Kobe Newton in the lineup. It would surprise me if we saw Abu Magasa start over Toko Tainmo too much. Toko hasn't been nearly as good to start the season as I thought he'd be.
He struggled defensively for the most part.
which is surprising because he was a really proficient rebounder when he was in Denver. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going on there, but I hope he can get it cleaned up. He did have 5 against Utah Tech, so it's getting there. But yeah,
we can pull up some. I've got the season stats here. Let's get these pulled up. Let's get the right one right here. Here we are. And we can blow this up maybe a little more. There we go. So, I mean, right, the first thing when you talk about how big of a find has Obi Agban been? I mean,
it blows my mind that he wasn't on the team last year when we brought in a Quail Cott too.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that he hasn't been recruited more heavily. You know, he moved up went to he was at Western State, and then he went to Metro
State. JUCO first. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he was at Rocky Mountain and then Fort Lewis. Yeah, he's just been all over the place. So it's very surprising to me that he hasn't been able to catch on at a roster because he's an incredibly talented player.
And let me slide this over so we can see points. I got to make it a little smaller. Hold on here. Yeah, that's the best we can make it so you can see everything. But yeah, 19 points a game so far. And that will come down. I don't expect him to score that much, but he's by far, when we need points, right? He's the guy who's going to be taking control of the ball, taking the shot. But the problem is, right, is that they also need him to run the point. And so, I mean, your thoughts on your point guard being your number one scorer, and I mean, the pros and cons of that.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have your point guard be the number one scorer. I mean, you look at a guy like Russell Westbrook. It can be done. You also want him to have a fair amount of assists in there, which Agban does a decent job on, but I do worry about 14, his turnovers.
Yeah, 14 to 11 assist to turnover ratio, not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a positive assist to turnover, but it's not nearly what you want to see out of a starting point guard. AJ Wills has been a pleasant surprise. That guy's got a high motor, doesn't turn the ball over as much. I think he's got 2 on the year. Yep. He also doesn't have nearly as many minutes, but
true.
He's going to be a good player for us. I don't think he's going to be a huge player this year for us, but he's doing a good job of spelling Agban off the bench, doing a good job on when we run the 2-point guard look with Agban and Wills on the court at the same time. He's been fun to watch. And if there's anything to say about Wyoming basketball this year, is that they are fun to watch. They're high energy. They're looking to bring some excitement back to the Dome as compared to the last 2 seasons where it was kind of dreary, to say the least. It got a little rough in the Dome over the last few years with injuries and transfers and nobody really knowing what was happening. So it's good to see these new guys coming in and injecting some energy back in the program with Coach Wicks.
100%. I guess looking at these stats, other guys who kind of caught your eye that you think are, putting in good shifts, having a good positive impact early so far.
Oh, it starts and ends with Jordan Nesbitt.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Nesbitt is an insanely good basketball player. That guy, I can't believe he's leading us in rebounding, and he's flying out of nowhere to come get him. He's not as consistent a scorer as we would like to see, especially not from three, but his tendency to be around the ball and his timing on rebounds is easily the best on the team.
Yeah, he's at 9.8 boards per game, and that's just a lot of it is just hustle. And I think he's got he's got that sense of where the ball's going to end up, and which some guys don't, right? They don't track shots very well. But I think, especially on the defensive end, he has good anticipation on that.
Yeah, he's got a really good nose for where the ball's going to be. The big worry right now is we're getting destroyed on the rebounding margin when we play teams with a pulse.
Yeah, look at that. 33 to 42 on average.
So we need our bigs to do something to step up. Guys like Toko, who's a little more athletic, we need the spacing to be better. Cole Henry, it just seems to bounce away from him. I'm not really going to blame his positioning. Scotty Abube, we need Scotty to get healthy. He's a big dude. When you roll your ankle when you're a big guy, that makes life pretty difficult. When you're 6'10", 280, that's a lot of pressure. So we can hope that he'll be back soon. We got a little taste of what he could do against Concordia St. Paul just with the dunk party. So we'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, I'll have to look. I could look it up now. I think yesterday was when Wicks had his press conference. So I don't know if there's an update on Abube or not. So we'll have to track that down to see if there's any injury news. Him as well. And then do we know what's going on with Belich?
No, we haven't seen him at all yet this year.
Yeah. I just heard that he's hurt. But I don't know.
That's all I've got too.
The nature of the injury, or if they expect him back anytime soon or what, because I think he's another piece to this puzzle to where he's kind of in that shooting guard small forward, but he is more of a shooter, which I think could be beneficial to this team right now.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think that scoring is our problem right now. It's really on the defensive end. But yeah, he's a forward size. He's a 6'7" guy, which means he's only an inch shorter than Cole Henry, who's our starting center.
Yeah, but he's a thin as a rail.
He really is. He's a small guy, but he did well with the Gauchos. So hopefully we see him on the trail sometime soon.
Yeah, let's see. Other things that have caught my eye. Hey, I think an Abu Magasa, I think we've got a real good player on our hands. Hopefully we could keep him right and develop him. But I think once he can get like a full season at a training table and like lifting weights, man, I think he's going to be a beast.
Yeah, he could be really good. He's a gym rat too, man. He lives in the gym. When I went up for media day, I was there, I don't know, probably an hour early. He was the only guy out there. He was setting up the rebounding machine to put up some shots. He lives out there in the gym, and he's done pretty well. You can see his progression game over game. So I think he's going to be a pretty good contributor for us by the time the conference part of the season rolls around.
Yeah, and he's averaging 4.5 boards in his limited time of just 16 minutes a game. So if you kind of look at other guys who are getting a lot more time, not nearly that production. So I think he's someone that hopefully will develop and could be a really good player, part of this young core, right, of all these new guys that we brought in who are on the younger side, who are going to hopefully stick around for 2 or 3 years as Sundance develops the core of this team that's going to be going forward.
Yeah. Some surprises on the other end. I thought Dante Allen would have a way bigger impact than he is right now, and he is having some serious struggles shooting the ball.
I didn't even see that. He's at 22% from the field. Wow.
Yeah, 1 for 13 from 3. He's not getting a ton of minutes, but he's a guy that's got a really high ceiling. So
yeah,
I hope he's able to come along soon, but he's struggled quite a bit at the beginning of the season. So when I'm talking about the Cowboys to anybody that's not, a diehard basketball fan, the first thing I tell them is they're insanely fun to watch. They're a lot of fun. They've got high energy. They're really looking to drive the rock and rock the rim. So they're a ton of fun to watch. The second thing I say is they're still figuring out how to play together. You've got guys like, Obi who can just take the reins and lead the charge and take over. But we've got a few guys on the team like that. Like I think Toko's used to doing that, and he's not used to sharing the rock. And you've got a guy like Scotty who we need to have a bigger presence, but he's been a 10-minute a game guy his entire career. So getting him conditioned to the point where he's able to give us, 20, 25 minutes a game is a lot. And, he's a big body and he'll be very helpful, especially come conference play. So I hope we can get him there, but we still don't know what this team is going to look like when January rolls around. Each game is very, very different so far.
Yeah, and they're going to be tested more soon, which we'll get into a little bit later. I guess looking at these numbers here, and I don't know if you could quickly pull up last year's stats, but in terms of our shooting, we're shooting 48% from the field, 34% from 3, 62 from the line. Again, struggling to shoot from the charity stripe, which should never happen. Yeah, kind of if you could pull up those numbers and let's see where we're at there. And while you do that, I'll say this. I'm surprised that we're shooting at 48% because maybe this is just me, but I know in a couple of those games, it seems like we were missing an inordinate amount of shots in the paint.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just ball luck, rim luck, if that will even out over time, or if it's just bad technique by these guys. I don't know what's going on there.
I think these guys struggle when they're up against physical competition, is what we've seen so far. Our stats last year, we were at 45% on field goals, 37% from 3, and 74% from the free throw line. So,
okay, gotcha.
It was good that we could shoot the free throws last year, but man, it's been nothing drives me nuts more than missing free throws.
No, I can make free throws.
If you're a Division I basketball player, you should be shooting 75 to 80%. No problem.
This is the story I tell to people, but like when I was playing, like junior high, even maybe a little high school, like YMCA league, right? Our coach would select the starting lineup by we would shoot free throws and warm up, and whoever hit their free throws got a start. So even though I was terrible, I could shoot free throws, and I started most games because I could shoot free throws. So if I can shoot free throws, I think a D1 athlete should be able to. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and I understand they're focusing on other things too, so it's kind of unfair to leave that on them. But missing free throws is absolutely maddening.
Yeah, I think you should be. I mean, what's the NCAA average? Like 75 for a team?
It's got to be around there somewhere. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but
yeah, I'll look that up.
You would think it's up there.
So you need to be at least average.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they can work that out too. Looking at the numbers, Nesbitt, yeah, he's been pretty bad, 57. And he's got our most attempts, so he's kind of the problem.
Right there, but I mean, he's making up for it on the defensive end of the floor, so we're not going to belabor that.
Sure, yeah, we're not going to blow him up there. All right, any other thoughts?
No other thoughts off the top of my head right now. I mean, they're good players. Oleg Koyanets has looked more capable this year. I think he's doing a good job coming off the bench. Nice to see Sonny put the bench players in towards the end of the game when the game is in hand or so far out of hand that we can't do anything.
Sure. Yeah.
I like seeing those guys get some time. Seeing your Nigel Cooks, your Levi Browns, your Court Robersons, the guys that they're really putting in the work to make this team better. And, Nigel's one of the guys that we hope to see more of as the season comes along. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's just really raw. So I hope that getting those guys some game experience is going to go a long ways.
All right. Also last week, we'll get this up, was early signing period for college basketball, and Sundance Wicks did sign 3 players. So we'll kind of get your thoughts on those. Bryan, first up, easily the highest rated in this class is Gavin Gores, forward, 6'10", 210, out of Cumberland, Wisconsin. And he's kind of like a late bloomer is what we heard. Wyoming got onto his radar early in the summer, and then some big schools came in for him after he committed to Wyoming, including Illinois. And so I think hanging on to him is quite the recruiting job by Sundance Wicks.
Yeah, no, he's going to be one of those players that we see do a lot around the rim. The guy likes to throw it down. He's a big kid. He's a skinny kid. He's going to be the most apt comparison I can make, and I'm not saying it's the same skill level, but is Larry Nance Jr. When he came in, tall, skinny guy, needed to put some weight on, little gangly still. I think that's what we're going to see from Gavin Gores. I do think he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to contribute right away. I think that's what Sonny was looking for a lot in this class. He was looking for some size that's going to be able to come in and play right now.
Yeah, and we'll get into that.
I think he got that in Gavin Gores.
Big picture wise, for sure. All right, we'll talk about the other big man. And this is a guy, this came out of the blue to me. I didn't know that Wyoming had a D1 basketball player because we don't put them out very often. But Neil Summers, 6'9", 240. So he does have the size already. Out of Laramie, all-state selection for the Plainsmen.
He does.
What do you know about him?
He's a hell of a player, man. He's dominant in Wyoming basketball, but honestly, that's not saying much. Guy's got really good rebounding presence. He's really good around the rim. He is bigger than everyone else. It's the same kind of thing we saw with Hunter Thompson a few years ago. He absolutely dominant at the high school level. But Summers also does really, really, really well on the AAU circuits. He's got good positioning. My big worry about Summers is that he's got to work on his athleticism quite a bit. I think I've got a better vertical than that guy, and you measure my vertical in sheets of paper. So he's not one that you're going to see. He's going to be more of your Graham Ike type player around the rim. He's not going to dunk it. He's looking to lay it in or do a turnaround jumper, and we've seen how effective that can be. We need him to. He's almost certainly going to redshirt next year.
Okay, you think so?
He's got some work to do, and he might be able to do it this year. I don't know, but as it stands right now, he's got some work to do before he's going to be able to contribute.
Okay, interesting. On this press release, they didn't release who else recruited him, and Rivals, and who knows if this is correct, right? But they claimed that Summers had scholarship offers from Portland, Northern Colorado, and Stetson.
Yeah, all D1 schools. So we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And some of them have had, pretty good success in the past. So, yeah, it's not like it was his only offer. And the same thing with Gores, offered by South Dakota State, who has a pretty good program. And then, obviously, Illinois came in for him late, which is, Illinois has got a really good program.
Yeah. Yeah, he is the prize of the recruiting class for sure.
All right, and then the last one, this is kind of a weird one. I don't know much about this guy. Naz Meyer. He's from California, LA, but he's actually out at prep school in New Hampshire. I tried to dig up information on the school to see if they had any famous athlete alums. I couldn't find much, even on their own website. Nobody I've ever heard of. But yeah, do you know much about this player? And then Why is he's at a prep school in New Hampshire when he's from California?
I don't. I tried to look up the same information, and I found something on why he went there, but it escapes me right now. I forgot to write it down. He is the highest rated recruit in this class. He's one of the top 20 players in California coming out. And what we need from him is to be a point guard. We've got AJ Wills that's going to be our point guard next year. He's already on the roster. We needed someone else with handles on the roster that's going to be able to help us out.
Really? So that's where you think he projects?
I do.
Okay, and which is interesting because he's 6'7", right? So that's a big point guard. That's like a Jalen Rose point guard.
Yeah. No, he's got really good handles. He can facilitate. He's one of the things that Wicks said about him is he can play 1 through 5.
Okay.
Those are the kind of players you want. That's a Hunter Maldonado. Hopefully he's got better handles than Hunter did, although Hunter was serviceable for us. He wasn't a point guard. He was a guard. He wasn't a point guard. I think Naz can be a point guard.
Okay. No, that's great. Right. And that's kind of where we're going, right? I think in the future, all sports are doing this, like positionless basketball. Now, not in a true sense, but it just allows you to, within a game, to swap. If guys have these Swiss Army knife skill sets, it just makes you that much more hard to defend, especially like in transition, right? If you have a 6'7", 6'8" guy who can handle the ball going up the court, it just does a lot of things for you.
Yeah, well, and that length also helps a ton on defense too.
Sure,
if you've got the lateral quickness, you're going to be able to guard the shiftier point guards in the league without fouling, which is kind of the ideal what you want to see. But you got to be able to keep it together.
Okay. So just thinking long term. Well, let me stop sharing here. And I will say that we're pretty sure, based off coaching tweets, I think like the day or two after signing day, that we do have some kind of mystery commit hanging out there as well, a fourth player. Again, we don't know if they're in this class. Maybe they're in the next class. I haven't found any speculation. I know you have an idea who it may be. And I looked up more on that kid today, and it's dead silent. So it could be him. But what is your hypothesis?
Well, my hypothesis is AJ Glass. He's a big time recruit,
which is pretty crazy. Yeah,
he'd easily be one of the best recruits we've ever had in Wyoming.
Yeah.
I have nothing to base this on other than gut feeling and grabbing what information I can.
Yeah,
and seeing what visits he's taken and things like that. But that would be my guess.
That would be amazing. So not too long ago, he announced his final 3 schools, which consisted of Texas A&M, Stanford, and Wyoming. So it'd be a pretty big get to take a guy who's got 2 pretty good traditional programs, right, who've had success in college basketball. To be able to get a guy like that to Wyoming would be quite something.
Yeah, it'd be pretty incredible. I will say that I think having a guy like Sundance Wicks as your head coach is going to be attractive to guys like this. Guys that know that they're going to, they're going to be able to come in, they're going to be able to make a difference. They're also going to be coached up and be in a positive environment. Like anybody that's watched the Mountain Made documentaries, and I still haven't watched the 3rd episode. I need to get on that, but
3rd one's very good.
Sonny cares about these guys, man. He cares about these guys. He cares about the fans. He cares about the students. The guy's got a huge heart, and he has bled brown and gold his entire life. It's great to see him on the sidelines again.
Yes. All right, let's get another screen share up, and let's talk a little kind of long-term stuff here too, and some roster building as we think about this program long-term. So let's get it up. So here's the roster, right? And some things to note is, according to my count, right, we should have 6 scholarships open. after this year. That's barring any surprise transfers at the end of the year, which more than likely will occur. But right now we're planning towards 6 spots. They just filled 3 of those. But know that starting next academic year, scholarship limits go up in pretty much every sport except for, it is all sports. Even in football, they're going up. But in football, they are doing a pretty good a roster cap, which we'll get into this December with the football team. But basketball-wise, your scholarship limit rises from 13 to 15. So Wyoming really has 8 scholarships to hand out in this cycle here.
Yeah. So we know we have 3 recruits from the early signing period. We may possibly have a 4th from what the staff is saying. And I have no reason not to believe them at this point. So that leaves 4 slots open for the portal. I would imagine we're going to see all 4 of those slots moved. So
what do you mean moved?
We're going to see all 4 of those slots filled. Sorry.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. So again, we'll be losing Agbem. We'll be losing Allen. I'm coming down the list. I've got these all written down. Henry is out of eligibility. Nesbitt will be, and then Newton and Tianimo. So really, you're losing 2 big guys, and you kind of already filled those in a way in Summers and Gores. But if you're telling me that you think Summers needs another year, we'll probably be in the market in the portal for another big man, a forward. But then you're losing a lot of guards, right? You're losing 1, 2. You're losing 4 guards. And right now you've only replaced them with 1. So I think guard heavy is what they'll be looking for. And so I guess, what do you think to fill out these final spots? And again, I don't know if Wyoming is going to commit to filling 15 basketball scholarships. We haven't heard what their plan is, like as an institution, if they're going to try to fill all those slots. I'd imagine we would. But do you think that they are going to reserve maybe all 4 of those for portal guys and wait and see? Or do you think they'll still scour the high school and JUCO ranks to see what might be out there?
I think they're going to take the best players that are available for them to recruit. They brought in Pat Stacy specifically for that reason.
Sure.
He has got his eye on the portal, watching players that may or may not be in there. The guy's connected. He's worked with a lot of schools around the country. He knows what kind of movement may be available. So that would be my guess, is that Stacy's either going to tell him, listen, this is a guy we can get out of high school, or, hey, there's this guy at this program that's not happy, or that's, he's playing well and wants to move up to a bigger league, or he's on a team like a Texas Tech, who, by the way, is number 10 in KenPom right now. Like,
okay, yeah,
really good team, and maybe he's not seeing as much court time as he would like. I would be very surprised if we didn't get at least 3 transfers.
Okay, and that makes sense, right? Especially because, man, you think football transfer portal. I mean, the basketball transfer portal is insane. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse now that they basically lifted the sit out a year, and you can transfer as many times as you want now. So
yeah, and it makes me happy for the guys, but it makes me sad to see a couple of our former players doing so well at Drake this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen how they've got out to good starts.
Yeah, they're really good.
Okay, and we knew that, right?
Yeah,
at least with Cam, we knew Cam was really good.
Yeah, Kale's had a really big role over there too, and I think both of them would have been monsters on this team. Yeah, it was a bummer to see him go.
Yeah, it is, but I have full faith that Sundance will identify the right guys, as you said, with Stacy kind of looking at the numbers and trying to find guys who will fit the system and what they're looking for. So, yeah, so that's what I figured too. I figured it'd be reserving pretty much half, if not more, of these scholarships that are still open for portal guys, because I think, right, in the terms of team building, you want to have balanced classes. You want to balance out your classes so you don't get too young or get like too old at the same time. And so I think the portal will help that because we brought in so many guys right who are graduating. You just can't replace 6 seniors with 6 freshmen. You got to use the portal to your advantage, bring in some grown men who could hopefully step right in and play and develop guys at the same time. And that's kind of the magic mix, right? Is getting the right portal guys, but then developing your own. And if you can do that simultaneously, that's when you can really build, right, a team capable of winning the Mountain West.
Yeah. And, as a reminder, we've got a freshman on the team. We didn't even see him in the exhibition game. He's going to redshirt. That's Javion Starwood. He's the only freshman recruit that stuck around. I know next to nothing about him. Like I remember when he got signed, he was not the headliner by any means, but 6'3", 180 guard out of Oswego, Illinois, Oswego East High School. Not sure. I honestly don't know a ton about him, but
yeah, I remember doing some research last year. Here, I'm just pulling up his offer list from last year. If this will work, it doesn't want to work, of course. There we go. Let's go back a year really quick. And let's take a look at his offer list. He was a 3-star recruit in the Rivals system as well. I think he had some pretty decent offers. Let's look here. It doesn't say. Okay. Nope. Again, yeah. So he was like really under the radar, I guess. According to, who knows, right? Rivals has us as our only offer is us. So.
Yeah, and with basketball, there's so many players.
Yeah.
Like you have to check Rivals. You got to do 24/7. You got to do on 3. Like you've got to be all over the map to look at basketball players. There's just, and one of the nice things about basketball is that 2 good players can, like 2 dominant players can turn your season around immediately.
Yep.
Like if we get a guy in that's gonna, like, look at Texas Tech. They brought in JT Top, and he is easily their best player. Easily. And they've got a lot of good players on the team. They're going to be a juggernaut this year. And it's specifically because they brought JT Top in.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there's a look at the far future. But how about the immediate future here? I know we got a ball game tomorrow night in Laramie at the AA against Southeast Louisiana, who I think we actually play a fair amount, if I'm right. I didn't look at the press release to see how many times we played, but I could look that up. What can you tell us about Southeast Louisiana?
Southeastern Louisiana Lions. They went 15-17 last year in the Southland Conference. Their Evan Maya right now is 264 along with their Ken Palm. Compare that to us. We are a 213 on Ken Palm and a 201 on Evan Maya. So we are a slightly better team. Should be a decent challenge. Just to give you some color on that, Utah Tech was 320 and 311 in those rankings. So this is a better team than Utah Tech. This is a better team than Tennessee State. We're probably gonna see some different looks as we have every game with the starting lineup. I really think that Wicks is playing around with the starting lineup as much as he can. So by the time we get past Cal State Fullerton on December 22nd, we've got a lineup locked in for conference play.
I'm trying to see. I swear. Oh, the series. Here we go. They've only met one other time, and that was in 2022. Okay. And then Wyoming won 76-72 in our lone meeting.
Yeah. Would you say that was 92?
No, 2022. So just 2 years ago.
2022. Okay.
Yeah. I think I got them confused with like Southwest Louisiana. We used to play some directional Louisiana school quite a bit, like in the 90s, I remember.
Yeah. And 22 was rough. That was the shit Graham Ike's hurt year.
Yep. And they won. Yeah. So again, the schedule was designed with a purpose. And I think so far it's working out well. So we have Southeastern Louisiana. And then next week, they head out to Mexico For the Cancun Challenge, they'll be playing. Well, I guess not. I guess the first game is at home, right? It'll be Tuesday night. Is in Laramie, or am I wrong?
I believe it's in Laramie,
Yeah.
and it's Tulane, and
Tulane is in Laramie.
Tulane is a good school. Tulane is better than we are, but not like Texas Tech or literally anyone in the conference that's not San Jose State or Air Force. They are marginally better than we are. It's going to be a good test to see where this team stands. I will say that when Wicks built this schedule, he did a really good job of adding in a couple of tests with your Texas Techs and your BYUs, who are great teams, like who are Sweet 16 caliber teams, and mixing in some teams where, we can get our feet wet. We can, make some hay and figure out what the roles of the team are going to be. Because like I said at the beginning of the show, these guys don't know how to play with each other yet. They're figuring it out. They're getting better every game, but it's still very much a work in progress.
Okay, hold on. So according to this, the Tulane game is in Mexico. Actually, the Southeastern Louisiana game is part of the Cancun Challenge.
There we go.
We're at home. So that's the game. I knew one of them was at home, and it actually is the game tomorrow night.
Yeah. So Tulane will be the first one on that. Tulane went 14-17 last season in the ACC. They were gutted by the portal, though, like absolutely gutted. They lost a ton of players. Their returning player is a guy named Greg Glenn III. He had 9.7 minutes a game last year. This year they have 7 freshmen, 3 sophomores, and 6 juniors. But they've done pretty decently so far. So I'm pulling up their schedule right now.
Okay, so it's 2 games in 2 days next week. Tulane on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Wyoming will either play Belmont or Loyola Marymount in the second game of this little. It's not a true tournament, so.
Yeah, it's a weird round robin kind of format, but it's good to get some tournament experience early in the season, especially back-to-back game days. That's something you want to see out of your team.
Mm-hmm.
Tulane this season is 4-1. They've beaten, Louisiana Monroe, Alcorn State, and Bethune. Not Beth Cookman, mind you, Bethune. I am not sure how good any of these teams are, but they've won all their games pretty handily. Not a high-scoring team. They're going to score mid-70s to low 80s by the looks of it. They do hold their opponents to pretty low scores. We got, probably mid-50s to low 60s is what they're holding their opponents to. So should be pretty interesting to see what they're doing. Right now, their leading scorer and leading shooter is Caleb Banks. He's got 17 points a game, and he's shooting 58.5%, which is nuts. They're getting 41 rebounds a game, so that's going to be a problem for us right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So looking at their statistics right now, they are first in the American Athletic, but, we're 4 games in. That's not a big deal. Caleb Banks is also their leading rebounder at 9 points a game, so he is by far their best player.
All right. So that's what's coming up. So 3 games here within the next week, which is good for those of you who want to watch some basketball. Tomorrow night's game is on the Mountain West Network, and then the games part of the Cancun Challenge will be on CBS Sports.
Yeah. Something to note with Caleb Banks, he spent the last 2 years in Indiana, so he is a real deal kind of player.
Okay. Yeah. And so then
last year didn't play a ton at Indiana, maybe 10 minutes a game. He got 2.5 points and 2 rebounds, but he has really come into his own at Tulane this season.
Yep, and then after next week, that will wrap up Wyoming's play in November for basketball. And then they have a weird schedule oddity where we have a conference game in early December.
Yeah, we got Utah State, who is playing well.
And then
but they're
Wyoming will
mixed
finish
in,
up.
and then after that, we've got South Dakota, BYU, Bellarmine, and Cal State Fullerton to round it out before Christmas.
Yep. So yeah. So the games, once December comes, it's going to be a lot of basketball, which is going to make Bryan very happy.
It is. And again, it's a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
We're not going to be pulling our hair out watching the basketball team. Are we going to be a top half of the conference team? I don't think so. I really don't. But we're going to have fun watching the team. And I feel like that's a good step forward.
Kind of based off what you said, looking at the schedule, if we win the games we should, I think we'll match last year's win total.
Yeah, if we can get to 500, it'll be a successful season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they can get to 12, 13 wins on the year.
You mean 15?
Which would not be 500, but
yeah,
a good start considering where we're at.
Yeah, I mean our conference is going to be brutal. It's going to be
hard.
really, really, really bad.
Yeah. But yeah, they may surprise some people. As they said, things are evolving. Guys are learning how to play, and that's why we're playing all these different types of games with different types of teams. And hopefully they'll piece it together, and maybe we'll surprise some people.
I hope so, man. I hope so. We will see how much growth this team has by the time we play BYU on December 14th. Like I said, they're going to be another elite team this year. So if we look better against them than we did against Texas Tech, that will tell us what we need to know about the team before we go into conference play.
Yep. A lot of growth there for sure. All right. That's all I had on our agenda for tonight. Anything else basketball-wise? Otherwise, I think this was a good talk. And I've been watching the games, and I'll be watching tomorrow night for sure.
It's been fun, man. It's been a good time. It's nice to see some energy in the building again. Hopefully we can get some students there. I know there was just an article that came out on 7220 Sports about they've got a student reporter that was kind of asking the students, why aren't you coming to the games? And there were a lot of reasons. There were a couple people that were, there were a couple people that weren't. One person was like, yeah, I went to one game and they lost big. So they're going to have to do a lot to earn the trust of the students back.
Winning.
But I think if it's being a fun watch is going to help a ton.
Oh, sure. Yeah. 100%. But the students who do go, they are very into it.
Yeah. I don't know who that Spider-Man dude is, but man, when your spandex is hanging off you a little loose, that dude needs a cheeseburger.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, boy. All right. Well, nobody is using the chat because I don't know. When it's basketball, I guess everybody's calm, right? And relaxed. When we talk football, the chat fills up with people pulling their hair out. But we didn't want to pull our hair out tonight. So I'll do that Saturday on the post-game show. That'll be fun, I'm sure. But yeah, everybody enjoy the basketball coming up. We'll be put out of our misery here with football winding down. And we'll go from there. I don't know. Next week's Thanksgiving. Probably won't be a show next week, would be my guess. But we'll see. We'll keep you updated. We'll have a post-game on Saturday for the Boise game. Probably a post-game for the Wazoo game the following Saturday. So,
yeah. And then this season is mercifully over. Say we have a new tight end who happened to be the worst quarterback in the league per every statistic that's tracked. So here's hoping that we put this season out of its misery and move on to bigger and better things next year for football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll be breaking that all down. Lots of analysis to come. As I said, with the roster rules, I'm going to start an analysis on that. And then, when that final whistle blows, it's going to be a mad sprint for recruiting and the portal. And so there'll be a lot of football stuff for us to talk about. And then, as I said, the basketball games will be coming thick and fast too. So a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I am. I'm dreading the recruiting portal or the transfer portal for football. I think when you have a season where you win 2 games, that's not going to lend itself to roster continuity.
No. Yep, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So, yep, watch tomorrow night on the Mountain West Network. Should be a good game. Wyoming, a little better competition, like Bryan said, than Utah Tech. And so Wyoming will be a little more tested, and it'll be a good warm-up for the Tulane game, which will be another kind of good measuring stick of a team on equal footing with us. So, yeah, enjoy the basketball, everybody. And I will be back on Saturday night breaking down how many hundreds of yards Boise State runs the ball on us, which I don't know. I may need a scientific calculator at that point to calculate that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, here's to hoping we don't get any procedural penalties. Let's set the bar low.
Yes, or misused timeouts.
Yeah, late substitutions, things along those lines.
Things we can control.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Bryan. And we'll catch you Saturday for a Wyoming versus Boise State post game. Until then, everybody take it easy, and we'll see you soon.